December 17, 1959. At Drift Station SP8, the wind howls at 80 kilometers per hour across the frozen Arctic Ocean. Inside the main hut, meteorologist Ivan Petrov sits at his desk, the kerosene lamp casting a weak yellow glow. His pen scratches across the journal page. Ice fracture widening. Temperature minus 42 degrees Celsius. Preparing emergency. The sentence ends there. The station is silent.
When the supply plane arrives 3 days later, the huts are intact, but the 18 men have vanished. No distress call. No bodies. Only journals, frozen open on the desks, their final entries unfinished.
Welcome to the last expedition. Tonight, we reconstruct a Soviet mystery that the ice swallowed whole. The disappearance of Drift Station SP8 in December 1959. 18 men, 3 huts, no survivors, 1 set of journals that stopped mid-word. If this is your first time here, subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover a new polar disaster every Monday and Thursday, always from the original sources, always with the questions the official reports left hanging. Let's descend into the cold. In March 1959, the Soviet Union established Severny POLYUS-8, or SP8, a drifting research station on an ice floe in the Central Arctic Basin. The location was 85 degrees 12 minutes north, 120 degrees 30 minutes east. This was not an ordinary scientific mission. It was part of a secret network of Soviet drift stations, monitoring Arctic weather and ocean currents for military and strategic purposes. The station housed 18 men, meteorologists, oceanographers, radio operators, mechanics, and support staff. Their leader was Ivan Petrov, a veteran of 4 previous drift stations, known for his calm under pressure. The crew included specialists from the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute in Leningrad. Their stated mission was to collect data on atmospheric pressure, temperature, sea ice dynamics, and ocean currents for 12 months, as the ice floe drifted naturally toward the Greenland Sea. The station consisted of 3 prefabricated huts: a main living and working hut, a separate radio hut, and a storage hut. Each hut was insulated with layers of felt and wood, heated by kerosene stoves. The power was supplied by a diesel generator. Food stocks included canned meat, dried fish, bread, sugar, tea, and chocolate. Fuel was stored in barrels outside. Scientific equipment included thermometers, barometers, wind gauges, ice coring drills, and a theodolite. The station had a radio with a range of several hundred kilometers, communicating with Moscow via a relay at Tiksi. Resupply occurred monthly by aircraft, weather permitting. The crew departed from Leningrad by ship on February 20, 1959, heading to the port of Murmansk. From there, a series of icebreakers and aircraft moved them to the drop-off point on the ice. The last person to see them alive was the harbor master at Murmansk, who noted in his log, 18 men, 3 huts, 1 mission. They seemed confident. The icebreaker, Lenin, escorted them to the floe and left on March 14, 1959, disappearing over the horizon.
The official assignment order to conduct continuous scientific observations in the Central Arctic Basin for a period of 1 year in the interests of Soviet science and national security.
If you were that harbor master watching the icebreakers sail away into the polar night, would you have tried to stop them? Let me know in the comments. The men of SP8 came from diverse backgrounds. The meteorologist Ivan Petrov was 34 years old and had spent 3 winters on the ice. The oceanographer Viktor Sidorov was 29, a recent graduate from the Leningrad Hydrometeorological Institute. The radio operator Boris Kozlov was 40, a veteran of the Great Patriotic War. The mechanic Dmitry Voltkov was 32, known for his ability to repair any engine with spare parts. The cook, Nikolai Fedorov, was 38, who had served on icebreakers since 1948. The expedition leader, Ivan Mikhailov, was 45, a hero of socialist labor, having survived the 1954 SP4 catastrophe where a floe split in May. He carried a leather journal with him, a gift from his wife, inscribed with the words, "Return safely." That journal would later be found empty. Their equipment was tailored for survival and science. Each man had a sleeping bag made of reindeer fur, 3 pairs of wool socks, a felt-lined coat, and fur-lined boots. The station carried 2,000 liters of kerosene, 500 liters of diesel fuel, 300 kilograms of canned meat, 200 kilograms of dried fish, 100 kilograms of sugar, 50 kilograms of tea, and 30 kilograms of chocolate. Medical supplies included morphine, bandages, and a surgical kit. For communication, they had a shortwave radio model R657, capable of transmitting on frequencies between 3 and 30 megahertz. The antenna was a 20-meter wire strung between 2 wooden poles. The generator was a 10-kilowatt diesel unit with 2 spare engines. The huts were painted orange on the outside for visibility against the white ice, and inside, the walls were lined with bookshelves holding scientific texts, novels, and propaganda pamphlets. The declared objective was to measure the heat balance of the Arctic Ocean, including solar radiation, ice thickness, and water temperature at various depths. The planned route was to drift with the transpolar drift stream, passing north of the New Siberian Islands, then westward toward the Greenland Sea. The crew expected to be evacuated by a Soviet icebreaker in March 1960, when the floe would reach approximately 80 degrees north, 10 degrees east. The research was funded by the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute in Leningrad, under the auspices of the Soviet Academy of Sciences. The station's code name was Polyus-8, and its transmissions were encrypted for security. The departure from Murmansk occurred on February 28, 1959. The harbor master, a man named Alexei Voronov, later recalled, "They boarded the icebreaker Lenin on a gray morning. The temperature was minus 15 degrees Celsius. The men were quiet, but determined. I remember the leader, Mikhailov, shook my hand and said, 'We'll see you in the spring.' That was the last time anyone saw them alive from the outside world." Among the cargo, Voronov noticed a wooden crate marked "Special Equipment, Handle with Care." He did not know its contents. That detail would later puzzle investigators.
The official log of the icebreaker Lenin records, embarked 18 passengers and 12 tons of cargo at 0800 hours. Departed at 1000 hours. Sea ice conditions moderate.
If you were that harbor master watching the icebreakers sail away into the polar night, would you have tried to stop them? Let me know in the comments. The first months at SP8 proceeded according to plan. The crew settled into a routine: scientific observations every 4 hours, radio contact with Moscow twice daily, maintenance of equipment and huts. The ice floe drifted slowly northwest at an average of 5 kilometers per day. Temperatures ranged from minus 15 degrees Celsius in April to minus 35 degrees Celsius in October. The sun did not set between April and September, then disappeared entirely by late October. By June, the crew had drilled 37 ice cores, measured ocean currents at 15 depths, and launched 42 weather balloons. The data was transmitted to Leningrad weekly. Morale appeared stable. The cook, Fedorov, prepared meals from the stock provisions: canned meat stew, dried fish soup, tea with sugar. The men celebrated May Day with a small feast of chocolate and condensed milk. In July, a supply plane airdropped fresh vegetables, letters from home, and replacement parts for the generator. In August, the ice floe reached 86 degrees north. The crew reported seeing polar bears twice, but no other signs of life. The oceanographic readings showed an unusual warm layer at 200 meters depth, which Viktor Sidorov noted in his journal as anomalous. This warm layer could weaken the ice from below. Sidorov recorded this on August 14, 1959. August 21st, the first minor accident. Mechanic Dmitry Volkov slipped on a patch of ice while repairing the generator and sprained his ankle. He was confined to the main hut for 3 days. Doctor. There was no dedicated physician on the crew. Basic medical training was held by the leader. Mikhailov Volkov recovered. September brought the first major storm. Winds reached 90 kilometers per hour. The temperature dropped to minus 28 degrees Celsius. The ice floe groaned and shifted. Cracks appeared 200 meters from the main hut. The crew reinforced the structures with snow walls. The storm lasted 3 days. When it cleared, the floe had rotated 15 degrees. The antenna mast was bent but functional. October. The polar night began. The sun set on October 15th and would not rise again until February. The crew relied on kerosene lamps and the generator for light. Psychological studies of polar stations showed that prolonged darkness increased irritability and depression. No diary entries from SP8 mentioned conflict, but later investigators noted that the radio logs became terser. November 7th, the anniversary of the October Revolution. The crew sent a celebratory transmission to Moscow, reporting all well, but the logs also mention increasing ice fracturing and drifting faster than expected. The floe had moved 300 kilometers in October alone, nearly double the earlier rate. November 14th, a supply flight attempted to land, but aborted due to poor visibility. The pilot dropped a container with mail and spare parts. Among the items was a letter for Ivan Petrov from his wife, later found unopened in his belongings. The pilot reported that the station looked normal from the air. November 24th, the first mention of a crack near the radio hut. The crew moved the antenna to a safer location. Radio operator Boris Kozlov noted in his log, "Ice under hut shifting. No immediate danger." November 30th, the temperature dropped to minus 40 degrees Celsius. The generator ran for 14 hours a day to keep the huts warm. Fuel consumption exceeded projections by 20%. Mikhailov ordered reduced heating in the storage hut to conserve fuel. The crew now slept in the main hut only. December 1st, a transmission from Moscow acknowledged receipt of data but did not mention any concern. The station's drift had brought it to approximately 85 degrees north, 130 degrees east, westward of its original position.
Radio log, December 1st, 1959. SP8 to Moscow. All personnel healthy. Observations continuing. Ice conditions deteriorating slowly. Preparing emergency cache at 200 meters north.
December 7th. The crack near the radio hut widened to 2 meters. The crew abandoned the radio hut and moved the equipment into the main hut. That night, the wind picked up.
At 02:00 hours, a loud crack split the silence. The ice floe had fractured 50 meters from the main hut, separating a section of the storage area. 2 barrels of fuel slid into the water. The crew managed to retrieve 3 barrels before the gap widened. They now had less fuel than planned.
Before we go deeper into what happened next, one quick thing. If this story of survival against the Arctic is gripping you, hit subscribe. We release a new expedition documentary every Thursday. And drop a comment. If you were on that floe, seeing the ice split in the polar dark, would you have stayed or tried to evacuate? Back to the ice. It's now December 8th, 1959, and the crew of SP8 faces a choice. December 8th, 1959. The crew of SP8 wakes to a thinner floe. The crack from the previous night now extends 80 meters, curving toward the main hut. Meteorologist Ivan Petrov measures ice thickness at the fracture, only 1.2 meters, down from 2.4 meters in October. The floe is breaking apart faster than any model predicted. December 9th. The crew moves the emergency cache, canned food, a tent, a stove, flares, to a safer location 300 meters northwest. The cache is stocked for 10 days for 18 men. The generator runs only 8 hours a day now. Fuel, 400 liters remaining, enough for 2 weeks at current consumption. December 10th. The radio crackles with a message from Moscow. A supply plane is scheduled for December 21st. The crew acknowledges. No mention of the fractures. The official log notes. Conditions manageable. But Petrov's personal journal describes the ice as unstable, like walking on a drum. December 11th. A new crack opens behind the storage hut. The crew dismantles the hut and moves its contents to the main hut. The floe is now a fragmented mosaic of ice pans, some drifting in different directions. Viktor Sidorov measures the drift speed. 8 kilometers per day, nearly double the average. December 12th. The temperature plummets to minus 45 degrees Celsius. The generator fails at 0400 hours. Mechanic Dmitry Volkov works for 6 hours in the dark to repair it. His hands show early frostbite. The crew burns a kerosene heater in the main hut. That night, Ivan Mikhailov writes in his journal, "We are at the mercy of the ice. The men are tired, but we have a plan." December 13th, a brief transmission is sent. Generator repaired. Conditions worsening. Request early evacuation. Moscow replies, "Stand by." Weather delays possible. The crew spends the day reinforcing the main hut with snow blocks. The wind picks up to 60 kilometers per hour. December 14th. The last full transmission. Radio operator Boris Kozlov speaks with a relay operator in Tixi at 1800 hours. The message is routine. All personnel safe. Continuing observations. Ice situation stable for now. But Viktor Sidorov, listening nearby, later scribbles in his notebook. Kozlov's voice was tight. He knew something we didn't. The transmission ends at 1815 hours. Moscow logs it as normal. December 15th. No scheduled transmission. Moscow assumes antenna damage. The next check is December 17th. December 16th. The wind reaches 80 kilometers per hour. Snow drifts bury the huts to the windows. Inside, the crew huddles. Petrov writes, "The floe is groaning. I can feel the vibration through the floor." He draws a map of the cracks, estimating the floe will break into 3 pieces within days. December 17th, morning. The wind drops. The temperature, minus 42 degrees Celsius. Petrov sits at his desk, preparing the daily log. He writes, "Ice fracture widening. Temperature minus 42 degrees Celsius. Preparing emergency." The pen stops.
The sentence ends there. No one ever wrote another word. The station is silent. 18 men vanish into the polar darkness. No distress call. No bodies. Only journals frozen open on the desks, their entries unfinished.
Before we go deeper into what the search party found, one quick thing. If this story of men swallowed by the ice has you on edge, hit subscribe. We release a new expedition documentary every Thursday. And drop a comment. If you were that meteorologist watching the crack widen as you wrote, would you have finished the sentence or run? Back to the ice. It's now December 20th, and the supply plane circles the coordinates where SP8 should be. December 20th, 1959. A ski-equipped Antonov AN-2 circles the last known coordinates of SP8. The pilot Viktor Sokolov sees the orange huts below intact. He circles twice. No movement. No smoke from the stove. He drops a flare. No response. The plane cannot land. The ice surface is too rough, crisscrossed by pressure ridges. Sokolov radios Moscow. Station appears abandoned. No signs of life. The search will have to wait for better weather. December 27th, 1959. A ski-equipped Li-2 lands on a smooth patch 500 meters from the huts. The search team, led by veteran polar explorer Mikhail Somov, steps onto the ice. The wind is calm. The temperature is minus 46 degrees Celsius. The silence is absolute. They walk to the main hut. The door is unlatched, swinging slightly. Inside, the kerosene lamp is cold. The generator is silent. The team finds 18 bunks, all made. Personal belongings, toothbrushes, razors, letters from home. In the corner, a chess set mid-game. On the desks, journals lie open.
The meteorologist's log ends on December 17th with the words, "Preparing emergency." The next page is blank. Viktor Sidorov's oceanographic notebook contains data up to December 16th. Ivan Mikhailov's leather journal, the one his wife gave him, is completely empty. No entries ever written.
The radio log shows the last transmission on December 14th. The antenna is intact, the radio functional, but no distress call was sent.
The emergency cache, stocked for 10 days, is untouched. The flares are still in their box. The tent is folded. The 18 men walked out into minus 42 degrees Celsius darkness and took nothing with them.
The search team expands the perimeter. They find footprints leading northeast from the main hut. A single set of tracks, then another, then a dozen, fanning out across the ice. The tracks lead to a pressure ridge 200 meters away. Beyond the ridge, the ice is broken into a mosaic of floes, separated by leads of open water. The tracks stop at the edge of a lead. No bodies, no equipment, no sign of struggle. But this does not match the condition of the ice. The fractures near the huts are small, cracks less than a meter wide. The main hut sits on a floe that is still 2.5 meters thick at its center. The station could have lasted weeks more. Why evacuate on December 17th? The generator is out of fuel, but the search team calculates that 400 liters remained as of December 10th. Enough for 10 more days at reduced usage.
The fuel barrels near the storage hut are empty, but 3 full barrels stand 50 meters away, untouched. Why burn all the fuel and then leave?
The radio is functional. The search team powers it with a portable generator and tries to raise Moscow. It works. But the crew of SP-8 never sent a distress call. Even if the radio had failed, the emergency cache contained flares. The flares are found untouched. Why not signal? Which contradiction is most convincing to you? Drop it below before we get to Act 4. The official Soviet report, classified until 1991, states, "The personnel of SP-8 abandoned the station due to sudden ice breakup and perished in the ensuing blizzard." But the weather records from Tixi show no blizzard on December 17th, only moderate winds of 30 kilometers per hour. The temperature was minus 42 degrees Celsius, survivable for hours with proper clothing. The men wore their full Arctic gear, fur hats, coats, boots. They were prepared for the cold. Another contradiction. The amount of missing food. The search team inventories the stores. Enough canned meat and dried fish remain for 2 weeks, but the emergency cache is untouched. If the men expected to be rescued, why not take the cache? If they expected to die, why not leave a note?
The last entry in Petrov's journal is a scientific observation. Ice fracture widening. Temperature minus 42 degrees Celsius. Preparing emergency. The handwriting is steady. No tremor. He was not in panic. He was writing a routine log, and then he stopped. The pen is on the desk, cap off. The ink is frozen. He never finished the sentence.
The search team recovers the journals, the personal effects, the scientific instruments. They find no evidence of violence, no sign of sudden catastrophe. The huts are intact. The stove is cold. The men simply stood up, walked out the door, and disappeared into the polar night. The ice swallowed them without a trace. We have the evidence. Now we need to understand what happened to the 18 men of SP-8. 3 theories dominate the investigation. Each has its supporters. Each leaves questions unanswered. The first theory draws from the physical evidence, and it is the most plausible. There is no trace of the men beyond the footprints leading northeast. But the footprints themselves tell a story. One line of investigation suggests that the ice floe fractured catastrophically in the early hours of December 18th after Petrov's final entry. The men had been monitoring the cracks for weeks. On December 17th, they may have seen the main fracture widen faster than expected. They could have decided to evacuate to a larger, more stable floe visible 200 meters northeast. That floe, if it existed, would have been their only chance. But the night was dark. The temperature was minus 42 degrees Celsius. The pressure ridge blocked their view. They may have crossed the ridge and then discovered that the lead between floes was too wide to jump, or the ice they stepped onto broke apart beneath them. The Arctic ice does not crack with a warning. It cracks like a gunshot, then opens in a second. 18 men in full Arctic gear could survive in the open for hours, even at minus 42 degrees Celsius if they kept moving. but hypothermia sets in after 30 minutes without shelter if winds exceed 60 kilometers per hour. And if they fell into the water, the cold shock would incapacitate them in less than a minute. They would not have had time to scream. The search team noted that the footprints stopped at the edge of a lead. No signs of thrashing, no wet clothing. If they fell in, the current could have carried their bodies under the ice. The lead was open water in December, which is unusual, but it was reported by the pilot. The water there is about 300 meters deep. Bodies would never be found. This theory explains the missing men, the untouched cache, the intact station. They left in haste, expecting to reach safety, and the ice failed them. The second theory focuses on equipment failure, a cascade of mechanical breakdowns that doomed the crew before they could call for help. The generator log shows it was running on reduced hours in early December. The fuel consumption was higher than projected. An ex-investigator speaking anonymously after the fall of the Soviet Union suggested that the generator had a design flaw in the fuel injection system. The spare engine was also defective. One possibility: on the night of December 17th, the generator failed completely. The crew tried to restart it for hours, depleting the battery. Without heat, the temperature inside the hut rapidly approached minus 40 degrees Celsius. They had 400 liters of fuel left, but no way to burn it. The radio, also battery-dependent, could not transmit. The crew may have decided to walk to the emergency cache, which contained a portable stove and a tent. But the cache was deliberately placed 300 meters away, too far in the dark. They may have taken the wrong direction, missing the cache in the featureless ice. The blizzard that the official report mentions did not occur on December 17th, but a more subtle killer may have been at work. A whiteout, a condition where diffuse light eliminates all shadows and depth perception, making it impossible to see the ice underfoot. In a whiteout, a man can walk off a pressure ridge without seeing the drop until he falls. The crew may have wandered, disoriented, until exhaustion and hypothermia claimed them. This theory accounts for the silent radio and the untouched cache, but it does not fully explain why they left the main hut. It was still intact, with enough fuel in the stove to burn for another hour or two. Why didn't they wait for Moscow's resupply plane, scheduled for December 21st? Then there is the third theory, the most controversial. It proposes that the crew did not intend to leave the station at all. It suggests that a sudden psychological break caused them to walk into the dark without survival instinct.
This theory examines what the Soviet investigators called the atmospheric anomaly of November 1959. Declassified technical reports from the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute mention that SP-8 scientific instruments detected an unusual electromagnetic disturbance in the ionosphere in late November. The frequency, 1.5 kilohertz. The duration, 18 minutes. The exact reading was recorded in oceanographer Sidorov's log, but the page was torn out by the search team and never published. Some researchers who have accessed the archives speculate that this signal was from a military experiment, a high-frequency radar test from the Soviet Northern Fleet. These radar signals could be intense enough to induce vertigo, nausea, and disorientation in humans, especially when amplified through a radio antenna near the huts. The crew may have been exposed to electromagnetic radiation for months. By mid-December, cumulative effects could range from severe headaches to hallucinations. Ivan Petrov's final log entry is abnormally concise. Ice fracture widening. Temperature minus 42 degrees Celsius. Preparing emergency. The sentence stops without a period. His handwriting remained steady, but he wrote only 11 words. His regular entries averaged 40 words. Could he have been affected? If the crew suffered from a shared neurological event, they may have walked out in a state of involuntary obedience, a hypofrontality state where decision-making is impaired, but physical movement is preserved. This is documented in cases of carbon monoxide poisoning, but also in microwave radiation exposure. The crew would not have realized they were leaving. They would have filed out of the hut one by one into the cold and collapsed within minutes. The empty leather journal of Mikhailov supports this. No leader forgets to write a single entry unless incapacitated. But no exposure source has been conclusively proven. The theory remains speculative, denied by both Soviet and Russian authorities, who dismissed the idea of a secret radar test as journalistic fiction. The evidence is circumstantial, but it haunts those who have read the unexpurgated logs.
Which of these three theories do you think is closest to the truth? Let us know in the comments. But first, let's conclude with what the ice finally surrendered. The search team remained at SP8 for 3 days. They found no sign of the 18 men. On December 30th, 1959, they packed the journals, the scientific instruments, and the personal belongings into wooden crates. The huts were left standing. The ice floe would disintegrate by spring, carrying any remaining evidence into the Greenland Sea. The plane took off at 1400 hours. Below, the orange huts grew smaller, then vanished into the white expanse. No one ever saw the station again. The Soviet government classified the disappearance as a state secret. Families were told only that their loved ones had died in the line of duty. Pensions were granted, but no details were given. The widows of Ivan Petrov and Viktor Sidorov wrote letters to the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute, asking for answers. They received form letters expressing condolences. The case was closed in 1960. In the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, a historian named Dmitry Volkov, no relation to the mechanic, gained access to the classified archives in Leningrad. He found the original radio logs, the search team's report, and the personal journals of the crew. The journals were stored in a climate-controlled vault. They had not been opened since 1960. Volkov read Petrov's final entry, ice fracture widening, temperature minus 42 degrees Celsius. Preparing emergency, the pen had stopped mid-letter, the ink frozen. The next page was blank. He also found the empty leather journal of Ivan Mikhailov, the gift from his wife, never written in. Volkov published a paper in 1995, detailing the known facts but offering no conclusion. The official report still lists the cause as sudden ice breakup. Today, the fate of SP8 remains an open case among polar historians. The physical evidence is lost. The ice floe melted, the huts sank, but the journals survive. Ivan Petrov's logbook is kept in a climate-controlled archive in St. Petersburg. It has been read by 7 scholars in 64 years. The final sentence still ends the same way. Preparing emergency with no period.
The pen is still on the desk, frozen in mid-stroke. The ink is black. The last word is incomplete.
Before the next expedition, one quick thing. If this story of men swallowed by the ice has stayed with you, hit subscribe now. This channel is new, and every subscriber helps keep these stories alive. Turn on the bell. New expedition every Thursday, no exceptions. Drop your theory in the comments. Geological accident, weather cascade, or contamination scenario? I read everyone. And if this one stayed with you, leave a like. The algorithm only knows when you do. On Thursday, the Karluk, 1,200 miles drifting through pack ice, 25 men clinging to the deck, and the captain who walked off alone into the whiteout. The ice never forgets.